Hi everyone joining us virtually, and welcome to the award ceremony of the 14th edition of Juvenes Translatores. We're going to be your hosts for today. I'm Aropi, this is Micha. We are the European Commission, or to be more precise, we're translators in the European Commission.
What you did on the 26th of November last year was what the two of us and hundreds of our colleagues do day in and day out. We translate to help the EU speak the language of every one of you.
But today we're here to celebrate you and your amazing language skills. The 2020 Juvenes Translatores competition, aptly titled Navigating in Challenging Times, Together We Are Stronger, was nothing short of extraordinary. And it wasn't because of the numbers.
What was extraordinary was that you, the students and your teachers, pulled it off. Despite the pandemic, the lockdowns and other challenges, you grabbed the opportunity to put your language learning to the test. And you proved that together, we really are stronger.
Yeah. This competition started way back in 2007. The original aim was to attract future translators to the EU institutions. But over the years, this has developed into something far bigger than that. This celebration of multilingualism and youth talent has become a monument to perseverance in the face of this pandemic.
A huge thanks for this goes out to the students, the teachers, the schools, the organisers, the field officers, the IT professionals behind the scenes, our colleagues who put together the texts for translation, and those who mark the translations.
The tests are usually taken by all candidates on the same day. This year, as we all know, was a little bit different, or quite different, and it wasn't possible. So some schools were closed during the pandemic, and special arrangements had to be made for you to sit these tests. Some of you did it from home, some of you did it from school. A huge thanks again to the teachers and the students for braving these big difficulties in this unusual year. And now for the ceremony.
The ceremony. Under normal circumstances, the winners and their teachers and one of their parents would be invited over to Brussels and be presented with their awards. We would have our friends, the interpreters, at the ready to be able to interpret so that you would be able to follow the ceremony in any EU language. You would be taken on a tour of the city and you round off your day with a nice dinner.
The prize is off limits now. But this really, of course, is not the reason why you took part in this competition in the first place. We'll hear more about this later on, as some of you share your thoughts and your experiences of the competition in general. Now, let's make the most of this amazing technology that we have at our disposal and hear about today's programme. So, Micha, over to you.
Thanks, Veropi. The programme for today is packed. You will hear from our Director General, Rytis Martikonis, a man who insists that polyglossia, wieczjęzyczność, multilingualism is not just some kind of fancy romantic ideal, but an everyday reality for all of us. In a place as diverse as Europe, languages build bridges and shortcuts.
And the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, has also kindly agreed to say a few words. We're going to hear from quite a few of this year's winners and from one of the teachers. You'll also get to know a few of our colleagues, among them a European Commission translator who actually won the Juvenes Translatores competition, and one very special speaker who speaks 32 languages. That's right, 32.
That's it for the introduction. I give you the Director General of the Directorate for Translation, Rytis Martikonis.
Yes, indeed. Micha, Rob, thank you very much. Thank you for hosting this event, for bringing all of us together, because whether live or virtual, the butterflies in the stomach are real. I see what, and we started a bit of this exchange already, and the thrill, the excitement about this is for real. And I'm happy indeed to welcome all of us, all of you, students, teachers, parents, also translators and many well-wishers joining in for this ceremony, watching from home with families or friends, in spite of the fact that many of you might be still in the midst of your final exams period, some just finishing today, and a few are lucky already on holidays. Look, last November, 664 schools from 27 countries, European countries, took part in this Juvenes Translatores context. Our translators read and assessed 2,797 translations. And for me, that's a dear number, because every one of those students who tried or tries something new, who puts his or her skill to test, is doing a right thing. And sometimes this extra step brings new friends or trip to Brussels, as Micha was saying. Sometimes an iPad arrives at your doorstep. Congratulations. Congratulations. Today we celebrate the best. We celebrate the mention students, special mention students, and of course we celebrate the teachers. Things that we do here would not be possible without them. Today we also celebrate your curiosity, ingenuity, but also languages of Europe. Look at the map. I mean, when we were gathering together, I looked at different faces, but I always think in terms of maps. And if I look at Hanna in Finland, Tampere would be the most north destination of this year. If we look west in Portugal, Leonor would be sitting at the far west side. A bit of geographical discovery came when we were looking at this, because we thought that Valka in Latvia would be the most east point of this competition. It turned out that Limassol in Cyprus, where Marinos lives, is the most south and most eastern part of this selection. Another, I think, nice feature is that this year, winners are from smaller cities or towns. Vimsi in Estonia or Lendava in Slovenia, they are around 2,000 inhabitants. I think it's good and important to see this context reaching across different realities of Europe. I did read your stories. I admired your ambitions, and they are truly impressive. Your interest and hobbies, do not know the limit. Krav Maga and karate, theater, saxophone, poems, writing, digital marketing. My goodness, just to name the few. But I'm also happy every time in this competition that it gives us, myself, to learn things. To learn things, for example, about the country that I know, I thought I knew well. Emilia from Lithuania studies in Jonava, a school named after Hieronymas Ralys. It was illuminating for me to learn that Ralys was a doctor in early 20th century, also a writer, but also the first translator of Homer's Iliad and Odyssey in Lithuanian. Even more illuminating for me was that he took his first attempt to do that as a student in last year of gymnasium. I did think about the Juvenes Translatores, 100 years ago. He accomplished his translation much later, but his perseverance, trial, not giving up was remarkable, and I think it is important not only in a translation. Dear Juvenes Translatores, dear all participants, I'm looking forward to continuing this conversation, to listening to what you have to say, to seeing you, even if on screen in different places across Europe. Merop and Micha, Gidra and Lucas, Elisabetta, the whole team behind this competition in DGT put together a very nice program for this afternoon indeed. And next on it, it's the European Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen. Her job is to help our 27 countries to work together. Not an easy, a big task, I would say, but she is well prepared. During her childhood that she spent in Brussels, she spoke German at home, but mostly French and English at school with her friends. She studied economy, then moved to graduate as a doctor, lived with her family in the United States, then moved back to Germany, to German politics, and eventually was the Minister for Defense. Now, she's the first female president of the European Commission, living example of how openness to other cultures, knowledge of other languages can be crucial for your life. Let's all listen what she has to say to us.
Dear students, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to join so many of you to celebrate Europe's languages and multilingualism, and particularly to congratulate today's winners and their teachers. Herzlichen Glückwunsch an die Gewinnerinnen und Gewinner, aber auch an ihre Lehrerinnen und Lehrer. Félicitations aux gagnants et à leurs enseignants. Learning languages offers a wealth of opportunities, friendships beyond borders, discovery of new cultures, and a mutual understanding across Europe. EU initiatives like Erasmus Plus and Discover EU unite Europeans in their diversity, and they show the value of language. They teach the ability to understand and communicate with each other. They're breaking down barriers to make Europe the best place to live, to study, and to make your dreams come true. This year, the topic of this contest was Navigating in Challenging Times, Together We're Stronger. Never before has this phrase rung so true. The last year has been hard, especially on young people. The pandemic prevented you from meeting up with friends, and it stole precious opportunities to learn and grow. But in this time of crisis, Europe pulled together, and we got results. We procured millions of vaccines to coordinate a global response to COVID-19. We continued to build a more sustainable future for us and our planet. And we worked for a digital world that respects our privacy and European values. We also launched the Conference on the Future of Europe, giving all Europeans a chance to shape our union. We need you, young people, to have a say in that too. Join our online multilingual debate with the hashtag #TheFuture'sYours. And please dare to share your dreams. Good luck. Viel Glück et bonne chance.
Achoo, thank you very much, Rytis. We get to call our director by his first name. And thank you, President von der Leyen. In her address, the Commission President spoke about the Erasmus Plus programme and the Conference on the Future of Europe.
Most of you will probably be familiar with Erasmus Plus, but perhaps not with the fact that this very competition is financed by Erasmus Plus. So thank you, Erasmus Plus.
The latest Erasmus Plus programme has just been launched, covering a period up to 2027. And it has a budget that's nearly twice that of the previous year. Each EU member state has a national Erasmus Plus agency, which will be happy to give you information on the programme. So definitely don't give that a miss.
Merope, were you not an Erasmus student yourself?
I was actually. I studied in 2 different countries, in Italy and Spain. And it wasn't just studying, it was a big European party. I would highly recommend every student, even if you're not studying languages, to consider applying or to find out about this programme. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and experience.
I've never been an Erasmus student myself, but I've come across this fun fact, and it's to do with Erasmus babies. Apparently, since 1987, when the programme was launched, over a million children have been born to couples who have met through the very programme. How's that for united in diversity? Anyway, time to move on. Next up is the first part of a 3-part video in which you will get to know our winners, or if you're one of the winners, a video in which you get to admire yourself.
Curious, innovative and adventurous.
Happy, curious and enthusiastic.
Happy, extroverted and creative.
Caring, inquisitive, kind.
Curious, determined, and an absolute total Potterhead.
Indecisive, shy, and an overthinker.
Hardworking, easy outgoing, and creative.
Industrious, enterprising, and divine.
Historic, yet modern and multicultural.
It's a very vibrant city, a very welcoming place to people from all parts of the world, and a very fun place to live in and to visit.
Lake, another lake, and another lake.
Small, rainy, sea, because like the sea is all around my city and it's so nice.
A very beautiful city, very historical because it has a lot of monuments.
Cozy, beautiful, and I think small.
I am also an avid Eurovision fan. Like my favorite song, like ever, in the whole world, is Arcade, and one of its phrases is small town boy in a big arcade, and I can really relate to it.
Windy, flat, and very socially dynamic.
I like to play the classical guitar, and I also like going out with my friends.
I like practicing many different sports, but especially swimming. I've been training and competing in this sport for many years now.
I do ballroom and Latin dancing on an international level. And I also love all other kinds of sports.
I write poetry and I write stories, and through this medium I can discover my real self.
Drawing and painting. I love doing portraits, especially with pencil. I also love traveling.
Running, I'm a long-distance runner. I love reading. I love Oscar Wilde, he's my favorite writer of all times. I really like discovering new ice cream flavors and having endless conversations with friends.
Read books and play with my cats. I have 2 cats, Linus and Sia. And I also like to go out with my friends.
Creating video content on YouTube. I also love doing karate. I even have a brown belt, and I'm really obsessed with Marvel movies.
I love doing homework, studying really hard, and doing chores around the house.
I don't particularly like watching movies because I can't get myself to sit down for 3 hours and watch something.
I don't enjoy getting up early in the mornings to go to school, and it is very often that I have to skip breakfast.
I'm afraid of needles. I hate them so much.
Exercise. Like, you will not find a lazier person than me when it comes to doing exercise. I hate eating pistachios, you know, like the little nuts.
Getting up early in the morning and PE lessons. I really can't stand physical education. I hate it.
Speaking in front of a big crowd, and I also don't like studying.
Being stuck in the same routine, so I try every day to make my day as interesting as it can possibly be.
Diabetes, global warming, and narcotics.
Big thanks to all the students, the winners, who've agreed to take part in the video. I believe, Merope, it's now time for our first guest, our colleague, and a true inspiration for aspiring language learners around the world.
So, with us today is a certain mystery Konomu, who has made it his mission in life to never be deterred by language, any language for that matter, and above all, to never stop learning. Kalosori says, Yanni, welcome. Your love affair with languages, foreign languages, started in your native Crete, and they brought you, well, it brought you to Brussels, to the European Commission. You now speak an amazing 32 languages. And finally, after hearing so much about you, we get to pick your brains on this subject. So I'd like to start off by asking you a personal question. When did you first fall in love with a language and why?
I think I fell in love with languages in general on the island of Crete, where I grew up as a small child. And that's, as you all know, a very touristy island, full of tourists. And I always had that natural curiosity that was also cultivated by my parents. I was extremely curious to listen to these meaningless sounds that tourists all around me back in Crete were making. And they did not make any sense to me, but I saw people communicating. So I really had pricked up my little ears as a child, and I wanted to make them make some sense. And when I started doing English at the age of 6, I think, all of a sudden, tada, those meaningless sounds started making some sense. And that was it. There was no stopping me after it, because I got so excited about this that it was not only the language that my dad and my mom spoke that made sense, but other people's languages made sense. And that was a revelation to me, and also the fact that those people led a different life from me. And I was really curious to get to know this life of those tourists and then other people from all over the world. This was the first real strong stimulus I had in my life to embark on this amazing journey.
Great. And now Micha has a question he's been burning to ask you. So I'll pass over to Micha.
May I? Hi, Yanni. What I'd like to know is, what's the cutoff point when you're learning a language? When do you reach a point where you say, oh, I've learned enough, I've had enough of this language, and now I can take on a new one?
Never. I get a huge sense of satisfaction when I am able to sit down with Bengalis, Albanians, Russians, Swedes, Portuguese, and whatnot, and speak in their own language. Then I know that I've accomplished something. Or I can read a Turkish or a Chinese newspaper and read through it, or literature. This is the big love of my life, literature. But then this makes me want to learn more and more. I never feel I reached a point where I can stop and turn my interest to something else. I'm really greedy in terms of knowledge, in terms of building bridges to other cultures, to other people, and getting to know their cultures well. When I can communicate and read through a newspaper article, then I want to read more literature, to listen to more songs in Polish or Italian or Lithuanian or whatever, to eat more Italian, German, Russian, Turkish, Brazilian food, and to really conquer the respective culture and be conquered by it.
And now, Yanis, I'm curious to know, has your knowledge of ancient languages helped you learn any of the modern languages you speak?
Absolutely. Learning languages is a love affair. It's about love. And when you fall in love with a person, you want to get to know their parents, their grandparents, their family histories. You want to go back to understand how they came to be, and the same is true with Latin, Sanskrit, ancient Greek, ancient Chinese, ancient Iranian. You want to follow the whole evolution of Persian, Turkish, Greek, whatnot, by learning the ancient stages of these languages. This is an extremely enriching process of seeing languages in their totality through time and through space. Learning ancient languages is a wonderful thing, but then going on to learn the modern stages of the respective language, be it Italian if you've studied, or Portuguese if you've studied Latin, or Greek if you studied Homeric Greek, or Hindi or Bengali if you've studied Sanskrit. This is a wonderful thing that allows you to communicate with the object of your love, that is the respective language and culture in its totality.
Thank you very much, Yanis. And just to round off, do you have a favourite proverb in a foreign language that you'd like to share with everyone?
Absolutely. I think that the guiding light in my language through my journey through languages is a Chinese proverb, or a saying by Confucius, rather, that goes like "Summer Scene, that means out of every 3 people you see walking around you, at least one must be your teacher, which means you have to accept people, different people. All these young people around me, the winners of Juvenes Translatores, or people in China, in Brazil, immigrants washing up on the shores of Europe, or elderly people, different people speaking different languages, eating different food from me, listening to different kinds of music, different people. I encourage all these young people that are listening to me to be curious about humanity, about this wonderful species we have, and to know that out of 3 people they will see, any people, at least one is bound to teach them something very important in life, as per Confucius. Be curious, embrace humanity in its totality, through language, through traveling, through communication, build bridges. This is a wonderful thing, and may Confucius and the other great teachers of humanity inspire you in this wonderful journey.
Thank you very much, Yanis, for that wonderful message. I definitely second that. Curiosity and continued learning through languages is definitely one of the best things about them.
Σε ευχαριστούμε πάρα πολύ, Yanni. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
It's been a pleasure.
And now the time has come for us to hear from our Juvenes Oratores. This part is dedicated to the voice of youth and the aspirations of the next generation.
Every year we invite our winners to join us to read a speech, and as every year, fewer than we can accommodate volunteered to step forward. The time is at a premium, and so we've selected 3.
The speeches you're going to hear are a reminder that the Europe we've set out to create transcends the boundaries of the member states, and that shaping it is quite literally everybody's business.
First up is the winner from Malta, Nathan Anthony Pace. The floor is yours, Nathan.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is a great opportunity for me to be able to address you. More than a year ago, the world found itself plunged into an obscure tunnel, and we have since felt the ravaging effects of the COVID-19 pandemic around us. The pandemic has altered the way we communicate across borders, learn, and even see the world. Humanity is enduring unquantifiable suffering, and yet everyone is navigating through this darkness uniquely. Young people's perspective, however, is often overlooked. Some people think that because of our youth, we are not affected by the pandemic. Yet this is false. We have been robbed of many things during the pandemic, but we are still searching for and finding light, both in and at the end of the tunnel. I have to start by relating a very personal story of a light that shimmered for me during these tumultuous times. As I have had more time on my hands since the start of the pandemic, I have been getting to appreciate and become prouder of a crucial part of my identity. I have stumbled upon positive representations of my identity on various forms of media and set out to explore further aspects of the community to which I belong. Ironically, the pandemic has given me time to realize that I am not alone in this tunnel and that I have a community of which I can be proud. I have been able to connect to the past that illuminates my youth, my path, primarily involving ancestors of my community who have battled queerphobia, sexism, racism, and other forms of bigotry. It has enabled me to cherish their accomplishments and understand their trials, as well as nurtured in me a powerful desire to inspire change and fight for equality on all levels. As I discovered a community that is based on understanding and acceptance, mainly on the internet, I yearned to start interacting with it in a safe space. I simultaneously felt a close attachment to everyone and loneliness because of the inability to share my troubles with anyone. It felt as though I had to defer feeling comfortable in my own skin and show my pride, as though I had to wait for light to appear rather than pursue it myself. I knew I could not celebrate my newfound self respect with people who can understand me, but I acknowledged that I had started a journey towards being fully myself. Virginia Woolf writes the following in her revolutionary essay, A Room of One's Own. No need to hurry, no need to sparkle, no need to be anybody but oneself. The pandemic has perhaps hindered us from sparkling in the ways we are accustomed to, but it has allowed us to introspect and weed out aspects of ourselves that stifle our individuality and authenticity. As I have already said, communication has been a major issue during the pandemic. Physical contact has significantly diminished, and technology has stepped in to try to fill this void. While it has in many ways succeeded, the essentiality of physical contact cannot be denied. Youth, as part of the general population, have felt the darkness of the tunnel of isolation from their friends, family, teachers, colleagues, and support systems. The pandemic obliterated the school experience as we know it, and online learning has exposed several social injustices, such as inaccessibility to internet services and the lack of available resources for students with different abilities. However, despite the hardships imposed on us by the pandemic, we are fighting not just for survival, but for the victory of light for the human race and Earth. We are creating art, writing, dancing, performing, acting, singing. We are shattering glass ceilings, pushing boundaries, reaching out to each other. We are campaigning, resisting, challenging power structures, protesting. We are standing tall in front of a pandemic and of everyone who is trying to obfuscate our voices. We are alive and we will not stop. As the Maltese poet Leanne Lou says, "Ideverbalizzani, Hallini," meaning deverbalize me, let me go. As a result, we are making the most of a global disaster. Life is currently pitch darkness, but light is being kindled everywhere. Yet, this is a message to those who doubt that a pandemic can radically change the world. Remember that in times of crisis, great leaders can emerge. Leaders who steer humanity towards successfully defeating the problems it is faced with. Remember all the people behind the scenes as well, working relentlessly to improve our world. However, the necessary thing to remember is that youths are present whenever and wherever needed. This pandemic is a salient example of youth's resilience to come out of the tunnel stronger, with a stronger voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. There really is nothing that I can add to your message or apply to it. Thank you, and don't stop the fight.
Our next Juvenes speaker is from Finland. Hanna Porsti, take it away.
Dear listeners, dear participants and organizers, first of all, I would like to congratulate all the winners for succeeding and writing fantastic translations in this competition. I would also like to thank the organizers for making this competition happen despite of these difficult times. For me, personally, this whole project has been a little spark of light in the middle of this gray and exhausting period. We have all suffered from the COVID-19, which is clear for everyone. I still think it is us, the young people, especially students, who have suffered the most during this pandemic. It might sound selfish and inappropriate to say this out loud, as I am representing this age group myself, but I still really want to get people to realize how COVID-19 has affected students and what kind of struggle this has been. I'm not saying this year has been easy for anyone. Well, why do I think that, in general, students are the ones who have needed to endure the most? There is so much going on in our lives at this age. At least there should have been. There are priceless, irreplaceable happenings and events that should take place at a certain age. We're students. We normally have all the exchange programs, cooperation with other schools, the prom, parties, musicals, school projects, graduation, hobbies, and all kinds of gatherings with other people during our high school time. And those were just some examples. This is the time we should have been making lifelong friends and creating memories together. And what have we done instead? We've been sitting home alone without being able to do any of these things. We have been scared. We have been patiently waiting for things to get better. We have seen events getting canceled one after another. It has been difficult, for me at least. And I think people listening now can also relate to what I'm saying. And for a long time, I really thought we had just been missing out experiences and opportunities. Then one day, I started to think if there was anything positive in this year. And suddenly I started to see this whole pandemic in a whole different light. Maybe we haven't been able to create the memories we would have wished for, but I think we have got something else. We've got the sense of community. We have been with each other in a whole different way. This is what our generation has in common. COVID-19 has been a challenge we have faced together. It has been a big struggle, I have to say, but we have been doing all our best to take care of each other. And I think Corona has brought people together in a way that hasn't been previously seen. My opinion is that my generation, our generation, is now stronger than ever. If we have had the courage and patience to fight COVID-19, I think we can make through anything. What we have learned is that we just have to do it together. Thank you.
Kiitos, thank you very much, Hannah. And I don't think your message is selfish at all. I think it's a very important one. And I also think that your optimism is really contagious. And although we're not the same age, your message really struck a chord with me. Moving on to our third speaker, joining us from Poland is Stanisław Adamowicz.
Thank you and hello everyone. At first, I would like to thank all the people who organized the contest and pay my respect to all the participants whose creativity led them take part in this event. Without their motivation, we would not be here right now. I am delighted to know that in these challenging times, still so many students want to broaden their abilities and knowledge and do not let the specific situation we have been going through discourage them on the path to success. Last month have been tough for me, and my achievement in Juvenes Translatores really brightened them. So many people expressed their esteem and admiration towards me after I had won. It was such an unexpected and building up experience after the year full of disappointments. The year in which we all had to stop meeting our friends, going out, and doing things we love. We have learned to enjoy simple activities like going to a restaurant or to a cinema, and found out how much luck we have even having those things. The topic of this edition was Together We Are Stronger, and I am so grateful that I live in such an amazing creation as European Union, in which I can feel brotherhood of nations, and that my country is not alone dealing with crisis. Despite the fact of being apart for a long period, we in fact got closer. Every single small win with coronavirus became a great success for our entire European and world community. So many people expressed their will to help the others. So many new initiatives have been created to aid the elderly, the ill, the health service, and all of those who needed support. And I sincerely hope that when this situation ends, we'll not forget about all the good we have created during the pandemic, and we'll not just get back to our everyday lives like nothing happened and we do not have to care about each other anymore. It is not the last crisis we will face in our lifetime, and we must get out of it stronger and better prepared. There is still a lot to change for good, and we, the youth, are the strength of the tomorrow's mankind. This contest has opened so many new doors for all of us, and I hope that we will use our extraordinary skills to contribute something into the society. A word is stronger than a sword, and it can make the world develop. So I want to appeal to all my young colleagues, write, dispute, and talk about everything that is important to you in as many languages as you can. Use your abilities to bring joy and make the people follow you in making the change. Because if you do not do it, no one will do it on your behalf. And finally, I would like to emphasize that your place of origin does not determine who you are and what you can achieve. I come from Hrubieszów, a town with less than 20,000 inhabitants. Many people who come from small towns or villages tend to feel that their lives have worse quality, or they will never be capable of doing what they want to do because of their geographical location. And I think it is absurd. In the end of the day, it completely does not matter, because what really counts is your own personality, individuality, creativity, and effort. As Walt Disney said, you must not let anyone define your limits because of where you come from. Your only limit is your own soul. Thank you very much.
Dziękujemy bardzo, Stanisławie. Thank you, Stanisław. I agree, it doesn't matter where you come from. What counts is your heart and your courage. Next up, part 2 of the video with our winners.
Obviously German. I also do English, Latin, Spanish, French, and lately I've also been teaching myself some Hebrew.
My mother tongue is German, but my first foreign language I learned was in primary school, which was English. 2 years later I started studying Spanish in this school here. Then in some family vacation, my sister taught me some French, and I just started to teach myself some Hebrew.
Croatian, obviously, English, a bit of German, and a tiny bit of Latin.
Being my native Hungarian and the language I am speaking right now, English, I also speak Spanish.
I speak English, Spanish and Irish fluently, and I'm learning French in school at the moment.
I speak Luxembourgish, of course, that's my mother tongue. I speak German, French and English.
English. I also speak Dutch because I am Dutch, and the next language I speak is German.
I used to translate short stories and articles.
The first time I ever came into touch with translation was more or less at the contest.
When I was little, I watched a lot of movies, a lot of cartoons, played a lot of video games.
I never really, the first serious attempt at translation that I ever had, I have to be honest, was this competition.
This competition was actually the first bit of translating I've ever done, and I heard about it through my teacher who recommended me to take part.
I think you can't really escape it living in Luxembourg because we have so many languages.
Well, I love translating. It's a lot of fun.
I actually never gave it a try before this competition.
I do think it's interesting. I really like it now.
The more that a person learns about translation, the more I think they fall in love with it.
I love the difference in phrasing between languages and the challenge involved in trying to express the sentiment in the best way possible.
I had never properly translated before I entered Juvenes Translatores.
I think that computers are getting better and better at doing it, so they will eventually outsource human translators.
I am not sure what path I'm going to be going down, but I am seriously considering translation after this competition.
I'd definitely consider becoming a literary translator. I think that's really interesting.
Hello, Janice. Nice to have you with us. You work as a translator for the European Commission in the Maltese department. For those of you who don't know it, the European Commission has translators both in Brussels and Luxembourg. Janice happens to be working in Luxembourg. Janice, you've joined us to share your story, which begins in 2012 when you won the Juvenes Translatores competition. Tell us about it. Yep, I'm afraid you're muted. Can you unmute the mic? Cheers.
Yes, Mia. First of all, thank you for having me and for giving me the opportunity to witness this year's award ceremony from such a proximity. It's truly an honor for me to be here after almost 9 years. So, I participated in the Juvenes Translatores competition back in 2012 when I was in my second year of sixth form. My French lecturer at the time, Dr. Claudine Bourges, who as it happens later on became the tutor of my master's dissertation, incited me to take part in the Juvenes Translatores competition alongside 4 other participants and 5 colleges from around Malta. To cut a long story short, after a couple of weeks, Dr. Bourges had contacted me to announce that my translation was indeed the Maltese winner. And I think there's no need to say that we were both ecstatic at the news. It was an overall great experience visiting the commission and feeling very much welcomed by all the organizers, commission staff and other winners hailing from all the member states, as well as getting to meet the Maltese contingent, some of whom are now my colleagues, and witnessing their day-to-day duties. Today, I look back at the Juvenes Translatores as an experience which totally changed my professional ambitions. If I may take you a few years back, when I was younger, my grandma always wanted me to become a lawyer. And in order not to break her heart, and also due to the fact that I had no other profession in mind, I started paving the way for the law course. Luckily, the letter also required languages for enrollment, and therefore my subjects were conveniently Maltese and French.
That's
After
wonderful.
a year reading law,
No, sorry to cut you off, Janice. I was interested in seeing if you had a message you wanted to share with the young translators from this amazing experience that you've had, and the fact that you were originally supposed to maybe become a lawyer and then ended up becoming a translator.
Yeah, I would definitely encourage this year's winners to never stop dreaming. Having said that, I don't want the message to come across as if it's enough to just dream, that one does not need to work hard to achieve their goals. On the contrary, this is not the case, but yes, I do believe that it all starts with a dream at the end of the day. And then it would be up to the individual to constantly work at getting the right pieces of the puzzle together, or build, let's say, the stepping stones which are required for the ultimate dream.
Very much, Janice. It's great to see you, by the way.
Thank you.
Dear all, it's time for the third and final part of our video in which we get to know a little bit more about our young translators.
I really wanted to be a farmer.
Grow up, I guess.
When I was a child, I dreamt of being a film director.
When I was a small child, I wanted to be a scientist. I wanted to discover something new that would help a lot of people.
My very first dream was to be a florist. I think I would still enjoy doing that today.
I wanted to become a doctor or a firefighter. That's why I volunteer at a fire department.
I dream about being happy, having a husband and family, children.
I think it's like vice versa, since now I just want to be little and sleep all the time.
My biggest dream is a bit different now. I want to educate myself furthermore and would love to make my living out of writing and using my creativity, because this is what makes me happy.
Now, I feel like I don't have any specific dream long term, but that desire to be the change that this world needs, to have a real impact, the same desire that I had when I was a child, it's still there.
I want to graduate, have a great job, and create a family.
My dream now is to become a translator.
I'm thinking about being a lawyer, a programmer, or maybe even a doctor, but I'm not sure, maybe a journalist.
Right now it is my dream to become a doctor and to go to a university. Maybe I could become a chemist. I don't know yet.
I don't have any long-term plans for the future. All I know is that I want to study law, but there are a lot of things that someone can do with a law degree, including translation.
I'm sure I will do something related to things I love. I want to change the world for good in some way, and I will be seeking for the best opportunities to do so. And who knows, maybe I will become a professional translator.
Europe is my home, I guess. It's a good place to live in. It's unique. It has many cultures and we can travel through all of them.
For me, Europe means community full of diversity, a collage of cultures, traditions and peoples. This year's text was a lot about the Schengen area, and for me this project perfectly shows how close we are together on our continent.
Europe to me means opportunities.
"2020 was a testing year for everyone, as we all know, but it was especially so for teachers. No matter how bad the situation got, teachers were expected to be there, to keep their cool, to shift mountains, as teachers do, because that's their job.
In times of crisis, we turn to those whom we perceive as strong and trustworthy, knowledgeable and resourceful, but also caring and compassionate and understanding. The fact that you have made it through to the end of the pandemic, to the end of the academic year, the pandemic is still around, unfortunately, shows that you're all of the above.
Tradition has it that we share the stage with one of these unsung heroes. Joining us this year is Helen English, a teacher at Maynooth Post-Primary in Ireland. We're looking forward to hearing your thoughts, Helen.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great pleasure to join you from Ireland today to celebrate Europe's best young translators. And warmest congratulations to all the winners. I hope you take great pride in your achievement, and I'm sure it has brought joy to your families and your school communities as well. And on behalf of the teachers and the schools involved in the competition, I would like to sincerely thank the European Commission and especially the wonderful Juvenes Translatores team who do such a wonderful job of organizing this competition every year and who have invested great effort and time into making this award ceremony a really special occasion for you today. And this contest allows us language teachers to offer our students an opportunity to use their language skills and to come to a deeper appreciation of the important role of languages, multilingualism, and translation. I had 5 students participating in the contest in our school, translating from German, Croatian, Italian, French, and Spanish. And I'm very proud of them all, and especially of Alba, of course. Alba is the first student from our school to win this contest. And what stands out for me from the day of the contest, on the 26th of November in 2020, was the reaction of the students afterwards when they told me that they really liked the topic of the texts. And 4 of those 5 texts dealt specifically with the topic of the pandemic, but focused on the more positive aspects of the COVID experience. And there were so many expressions of solidarity, young people taking time to check in on their neighbors and musicians playing music in retirement homes and so on. And all over Europe, there were spontaneous gestures of kindness and compassion, which warmed human hearts and illuminated the terrible darkness of the pandemic. And interestingly, the English language text, and I know that many of you translated from the English text into your own languages, and you'll remember there was a diary fragment from an archaeological report from the year 2095. The fragment came from the year 2020, which suggested that Europe would not survive the pandemic intact. But we have seen, and President von der Leyen mentioned this in her speech also, how the citizens of Europe rallied together against COVID, and how at EU level, there were many very successful initiatives that helped to mitigate some of the worst impacts of the pandemic. Yes, together we navigated these challenging times. Back to you though. The pandemic has for sure hit you all very hard and disrupted your education. And some of you have spoken very eloquently about that today. I want to bring you back a little further just to the 9th of May, when we celebrated Europe Day. This is the day we commemorate the Schuman Declaration, which really launched the beginning of the European Union. And I listened to the speech of President von der Leyen in the European Parliament in Strasbourg that day. It was also the official launch of the Conference on the Future of Europe, when European leaders laid out their vision for how they would like to see Europe evolve over the coming decades. And I would like to draw your attention to what President von der Leyen said about young people. And I quote, "The pandemic has been traumatic for people in Europe and around the world. And like all trauma, we need to find a way to talk about it if we want to move beyond it. And there is no better way to do that than by offering perspective, hope, and an ability to change things for the better. And that is why I believe it is such an important moment for young people, in particular, to have their say. This pandemic stole more than just a year from them. It stole experiences and emotions that every young person needs. It stole fun and friendships that shape people forever. We cannot replace the lost time which the pandemic has taken from young people, but we can build something better and fairer for them and with them. We have to act now, and young people must play a central role in this." End of quote. And today at this victory event, you take your place on a European stage, receiving the recognition that you deserve. I would like to encourage you to continue to engage with Europe and join in the debates and the events that are planned for young people over the course of the next year. And do take up the many wonderful opportunities that Europe offers its young citizens. Opportunities to study, to travel, to volunteer, to be climate ambassadors, and so on. And take up President von der Leyen's invitation, come on board, join the Conference on the Future of Europe. Europe needs you to build a better and a fairer future. And today, We applaud you as gifted translators. Hundreds of texts were submitted in this contest, but it was your text that sparkled and came out on top. And you have proven how at home you are in at least 2 languages and how you can transition from one to the other so successfully. You are highly effective mediators across languages and cultures. And with your advanced language skills and your heightened cultural sensitivity, you have so much to offer to your local communities, to your countries, to Europe and beyond. So, ich wünsche Ihnen allen schöne, lange Sommerferien. Je vous souhaite très bonnes vacances. Желаю вам успехов, счастья, всего хорошего в будущем. I wish you all a great summer and best of luck in the future.
Thank you very much, Helen, for the inspiring message and for the reminder that shaping Europe is not something that happens somewhere far away and out of sight in the countless offices here in Brussels.
Building Europe is indeed a continuous and joint effort. And now, more than at any other time, you should and you will have a chance to have your voices heard, thanks to the Conference on the Future of Europe. This is an initiative, an online platform, in fact, where you can share your ideas about the EU's future.
The Conference on the Future of Europe is proudly powered by our very own, DGT's very own machine translation engine called e-translation, which enables communication through the platform in all the EU languages. And now something slightly different but still related. I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but I have overheard colleagues use an acronym to refer to the Conference on the Future of Europe, and it's COFFEE. So quite clearly, the future is coffee.
So now we are moments away from publicly announcing our winners. But first, let's hear what advice they have to give us on acing a translation.
Focusing on the text, checking your spelling, and trusting your instincts.
To read as many books as you can, because the more you read, the bigger your vocabulary becomes.
Well, I don't know, to be honest.
Try to understand the context of the text and the intention of the author.
Believe in yourself and have fun.
Relax and do not be afraid to add something crazy to the text you are translating.
You should just try it, because there's nothing you can lose.
Find creative ways of translating. Yeah, so be creative.
And there's a little pinch of luck.
And it's now time to call out the names of the winners of the 2020 Juvenes Translatores competition. We're going to do this in the alphabetical order of the member states' original names. First up is a student who's passionate about ancient as well as modern languages and believes languages are key to becoming a true citizen of the world. I couldn't agree with you more. Lucas van Lieshout from Belgium. Proficiat.
Our next winner learned Japanese with as much ease as he learned English and is now making another dream come true, studying graphic design. Representing Bulgaria is Lachezar Popov. Chestito.
Our next winner recommends the Harry Potter books as the best way to learn English. In her eyes, 2 people will never feel like strangers if they speak the same language. Very wise words. Katerina Prisharova. Gratului.
The next winner is a true adventurer. She's an artist who loves travelling, and she's grateful to the EU for making it easier for her to travel. And in case you missed it earlier, she hates pistachios. It's Helen Friis from Denmark. Tillykke.
Our next winner is talented in many different areas. She writes poetry, loves maths and science. She plays handball and the violin. She sees languages as key in ensuring a peaceful world. Representing Germany, Johanna Volk, herzlichen Glückwunsch.
Our next winner imagines her future as a scientist or a doctor, traveling and studying in different countries around the globe. She sings in a choir, she does folk dancing and writes her own poems and short stories. Eva Riinjärve from Estonia. Palju onne!
An aspiring doctor who grew up bilingual in English and Spanish, our next winner is currently learning Irish and French. She also plans on using her language skills to travel and work abroad. Alba Doherty Madrigal from Ireland. Cocorges.
Our next winner is an aspiring translator, writer and actress and is passionate about linguistics. Her first experience of translation was translating subtitles for YouTube videos, which was a great practice for winning the Juvenes Translatores competition. Ekaterini Papadimitriou from Greece, Sichariteria.
Our winner from Spain is a competitive swimmer who, as a child, wanted to be an inventor. Now he plans on studying engineering at university. Javier Sánchez Bonilla Martínez, enhorabuena.
Our next winner enjoys the challenge of translating Plato's philosophical ideas from ancient Greek into French. She thinks of English as her second mother tongue, partly thanks to hearing the Harry Potter books being read to her as a child. From France is Adèle Horry. Félicitations.
And our next winner learnt his flawless English purely through media and movies. He's a music school graduate who wanted to be an astronaut when he was a child, but now intends to study maths and philosophy at university. Juvenes Translatores was, surprisingly, his first try at translation. Nikola Mamic from Croatia. Čestitke.
Our winner from Italy loves cars and engines and hopes to find a job that will allow him to travel and communicate with people from different countries. Could we have a budding engineer in our midst? Tiziano Frasnelli from Italy, complimenti.
And for our next winner, Europe really is the land of opportunity. He used to dream of being a Formula One driver, but now he really wants to be a Formula One engineer. He plays the classical guitar, but doesn't really like watching films because he can't sit still for more than 5 seconds. Marinos Iliadis from Cyprus, Sichariteria.
Computer games, movies and sports are our next winner's favourite hobbies. He recommends gaming and movies as a great way to improve one's language skills. He must be right because he's just won the competition. Krišjānis Zauska from Latvia, apsveicu.
Now, translation has helped our next winner pursue one of her passions, video content creation. She uses articles in foreign languages to translate information into her native language. She also enjoys karate, fashion, arts, geography and digital marketing. Emilia Makaravičiūtė from Lithuania, sveikinu.
Our next winner is a lover of literature and fascinated by translation because it challenges us to solve the unsolvable problem of bridging cultural differences. Our winner also plays the sax, does theatre, sews historical clothes and likes writing quirky stories. From Luxembourg is Jelena Thiel. Félicitations.
This winner is a nature lover who loves hiking and hates the word hate. He plans to continue learning languages in the future and who knows, maybe even he'll become a translator. Zetinchuk from Hungary, Gratulálok, sorry.
Our next winner is a born writer and he really wanted to join the competition at an age when he was not old enough to take it. But now he applied, not only that, he won with flying colours. It's Nathan Anthony Pace from Malta. Auguri.
Understanding the language of your neighbouring countries is very important to our next winner. It fosters international relationships and cooperation. In addition to her native Dutch, she's also fluent in German, French and English. Representing the Netherlands, Lauren Palamba, proficiat.
Our next winner, for her, Europe is a reminder of her diverse ancestry. She has Austrian and Jewish descent. She's currently teaching herself Hebrew and dreams of having a big family and becoming a doctor, a midwife or a teacher. Representing Austria, it's Elena Jael Seifert. Herzlichen Glückwunsch.
Our next winner cannot live without music, especially rock and metal. He plays the guitar and is also a poet with a passion for literature. His favourite authors being Edgar Allan Poe and Wisława Szymborska. Juvenes Translatores is just the start of this winner's adventure with translation. Stanisław Adamowicz from Poland. Gratulacje.
English opened many doors for our next winner. She says the Juvenes Translatores competition has allowed her to open doors for Portuguese people who don't speak English, as she translated from English into Portuguese. She once wanted to be president, no less, so she could help others, but now she plans on studying law and may one day consider becoming a legal translator. From Portugal is Leonor Silva. Parabéns!
This contest was the first experience of its kind for our next winner, which is pretty good going because she won it. She enjoys improving her English through reading and plans to travel a lot in the future. Representing Romania, Iulia Berciu. Felicitări!
Patricia speaks 4 languages and used to help her classmates with translation. She loves drawing, but for some reason that she can't really describe, dislikes cycling. She has worked as a volunteer firefighter and wants to be an electrical engineer. From Slovenia, it's Patricia Pachor. Čestitke!
Our next winner dreamt of being a florist, and she can still see herself doing that, but it seems Juvenes Translatores has sparked an interest in translation, and she's now probably going to study translation and interpreting when she leaves school. Her languages even include some Korean, kudos. Teresa Kwokaczkova from Slovakia, gratuluję.
Hanna speaks 5 languages, of which German is her absolute favourite. She also speaks some Spanish and Estonian. She competes in ballroom and Latin dancing on an international level and says that winning the Juvenes Translatores contest takes years of hard work in mastering languages. Representing Finland, Hanna Pörsti. Paljon onnea.
And our next winner is Chloe from Sweden. She's Swedish by birth but born to a somewhat American family, and she grew up in Portugal. Her first contact with translation was in a dream, and apparently it didn't go too well, but she won this contest, so there must be some chemistry there. She plans to pursue a career in biology. Chloe Carter from Sweden, gratis.
There they are, just behind us. The trip to Brussels was sadly off this year, but that didn't prevent us from sending a little something to our winners. Let's see how they reacted.
Okay, quite cool.
Really curious. Open it.
Whoa.
So the first thing.
Wow. Wow. This is my name.
Oh, it's something heavy. Just look at how beautiful this is.
I can't wait to put it in my room.
It's beautiful.
Oh my god, this is like winning an Oscar or something. I get like a little prize.
Juvenes Translatores. Looks nice.
Oh my god, that's so cool. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Wow. Oh my god.
I'm literally shocked. Like, oh my god, I don't know what to say.
I do really like this design of the
from a letter from Estonian graders. It's very nice and heartfelt.
Thank you very much.
This is going up in my room, like literally on the wall, like.
I'm so happy.
Oh wow. Thank you so much.
Congratulations once again to our winners and to their teachers. We have heard from 3 of our winners today, from Nathan, Hannah and Stanisław, and now we'll tune in live with 3 more for a brief chat. First up is Zityn from Hungary. Szia, Zityn.
Hello.
You said that you feel equally comfortable using Hungarian and English. And if I remember correctly, you also said that you wrote poetry. In which of the 2 languages?
That is a great question. Well, I write in English, and the main reason for that is that I consume most of the poetry that I read in English. And so I am more used to the flowery language of English poetry, and I am more accustomed to the traditions of poetry written in English. And also because of the reason that I mostly think in English. So it is much easier for me to put pen to paper in English, for me to translate my thoughts in English. So yes.
Thanks. One more. This was your first translation, so you show up and you win. Well done. Well done indeed.
Okay.
And now you're seriously contemplating of becoming a professional translator. Describe me your ideal day as a professional translator.
Very well. Well, one of the main reasons that I am considering translation as a future career is the flexibility that it gives and the opportunity for remote work, which would come in handy for me since I really want to move to the countryside and have a house with a big garden. It would be wonderful for me to be able to work from my patio, surrounded with all the calm around me and all the nature. And so, yes, plus translation is a really big challenge and it could help me keep myself mentally fit.
Thanks so much for joining in. Köszönöm, viszlát.
And next, we have some questions for Elena Jael-Seifert. Hello, Elena.
Hello.
Hi. So our first question for you is, when you were a child, you wanted to be quite a few things. You wanted to be a kindergarten teacher, an orphanage founder, and an inventor. So if you had to invent something now, what would that be?
Well, as a 10-year-old, I wanted to invent a laser or something so I could shrink myself and go live in my dollhouse. But if I had to invent something right now, it would probably be something like a flying bike or a robot to tidy up my room.
I could definitely do with one of those for my room. So if you ever invent it, definitely let me know. One of the things that also struck me about you was your amazing mix of ancestry. You have Israeli, Ukrainian and Tunisian blood. You're currently teaching yourself Hebrew, I believe. Could you tell us what methods you're using to learn it?
Well, at first I had to get to know the Hebrew alphabet, and this was a bit tricky for 2 main reasons. Because firstly, Hebrew is written from right to left, and in written text you only have the consonants given and no vowels. So I use a book which has explanations and text in it. And to study my vocabulary, I use an app called Anki, where you can create flashcards. And I'm still a beginner, but it just gives me pure joy whenever I learn a new word.
That's great. Definitely carry on your language learning. It's an ongoing journey. Thank you very much. Danke.
Pozdrav u Bjelovar, Nikola.
Hello, hello.
Hi, hello, welcome. Your win at the Juvenes Translatores contest did not go unnoticed in the local media. I understand that you've already also received an award from your hometown of Bjelovar, so congratulations there. But I've got 1 or 2 questions. You say you're not particularly into languages. You prefer philosophy and mathematics. But you show up and you win a translation competition. Why? Is mathematics to you like a language?
Well, yeah, I think that maths is a language as much as any other. The only difference being that concepts in mathematics are reduced, into objective, abstract forms. So it can be used as a means of conversation, so long as all the participants are able to grasp abstract concepts.
I suppose that makes sense. It does to me, if I think about it. But one more thing, I translate from a few languages, but if I showed up for a mathematics competition, I'd probably score 0 points. So why is the other way possible and not this way? Why?
Yeah, well, I said that, concepts are reduced. So during that step, you lose the human touch of concepts, of ideas. It all meshes together into, just objects. So that leap from subjective and human towards abstract objective is not one that everyone can make, and not everyone should make, because all human relationships depend on conversation, and removing the human aspect from it would be a tremendous loss, in my opinion.
That is some seriously deep thinking right there. Thank you very much for joining us. Hvala I Bog.
Moi, mun nimi on Kati.
Dzień dobry, nazywam się Monika Mattioli.
My name is Benjamin Hayden.
I'm Emilia Andreeva. Mä oon töissä täällä Luxemburgissa EU-komission suomen kielen käännösyksikössä.
I've been working at the Commission for more than 15 years now. I've been part of the Juvenes Translatores project from the very beginning.
Jestem tłumaczem w polskim Departamencie Komisji Europejskiej.
I work at DGT, but currently I'm based in Bratislava as the so-called field officer.
Each year, one of the many colleagues who evaluate the copies translated into French.
Mä tykkään kielistä siksi, että niitä on kiva opiskella. Ja ne on ollut mulle helppoja, koska mulla on hyvä muisti.
I bardzo, bardzo lubię języki, bo już w szkole średniej odkryłam, że naprawdę nie lubię matematyki.
Obviously, this horrible year has had a huge impact on the young translators. They have been sitting at home when they should be having the times of their lives. I mean, they should be going out partying, they should be going to excursions, they should be meeting their friends, kissing their boyfriends or girlfriends, doing all kinds of stuff, but no, they are at home.
This year, with pandemic going on, I was really scared that the competition would be a flop. But to my great joy and surprise, it wasn't. We received 200 translations, just as usual, into Polish. And the schools were really willing to participate. It was fantastic, and I'm really proud of us all, teachers, students, and translators.
We received very good translations, I have to say. It's never an easy choice to pick the winner, and we have to discuss this over with other markers that are dealing with this exercise. And this year, I think we were hesitating between 4 to 6 translations.
Our translators, the winners and the special mentions this year, as in the past years, are really people who get the flow, who understand what is translation about, because they manage to sound natural in their own native language and at the same time convey the message. They don't drift too far apart from the text, but at the same time they drift enough to make it sound natural in native language. And that's a great art, and this is what translation is about.
An excellent translation doesn't even feel like a translation. It feels like a text beautifully written in that particular language.
The text has to make sense. If the text doesn't make sense to you, it will not make sense to anybody else. But what makes a really special translation is when you make it sound natural. And a few years ago, we had an incredible situation where a Polish translation exceeded, outperformed the English original. It just sounded, it flew more smoothly, and that was incredible.
I remember when I was that age, I was really sort of conventional in translating. I was I followed the original text word by word and then translated it. But these young people, they are much more unconventional in a way. They are much more creative. And this is something I really admire.
Languages can be learned, of course, but there is also a feeling about it. And this was obvious with Adele, our French winner this year. This was also obvious with many different students, because there is only one winner per country, but there were several excellent translations in every country.
When you translate, it's not only the knowledge of the foreign language that counts. Just as much counts the knowledge of your own language, but maybe even more, your general cultural background. So read, please read.
Since we've been organizing this event for quite some time already, I see a kind of trend in the sort of level of language skills of the mother tongue. I would think that maybe nowadays young people, they have so many things to do. I mean, they have their YouTube, they have gaming, they have TikTok, they have sports, whatever they do, they don't really have time for reading. And if you don't have time for reading in your mother tongue, that has impact on your language skills.
Some students, especially in France, used inclusive language, which we were not expecting because the text was quite neutral.
People who are well-read will understand the subtleties, the irony, the humor, and cultural references. We feel that you are interested in languages, and that's what we are passionate about, because we feel we have still quite a lot in common with you, and it makes us feel young.
I look forward every year to marking the translations, because it's, as I said, it's kind of a nostalgic feeling as well, but it's something to look forward to because we also discover talents. There are wonderful translations, and I'm looking at them sometimes and I wouldn't have translated it like that. It's wonderful, and you can see, okay, this boy or a girl is really reading and has such a rich vocabulary, and I wouldn't have thought about this expression in the first place. So I am also learning from them.
I think this is an important initiative. I think it's important to increase awareness of the importance of languages, of translation, and this is how we do it.
This is what this competition is about, that we would give someone the chance to start a career maybe in this business, because before they wouldn't think about it, but this competition gives them such a choice.
Back in 2004, when I set for the competition for the translators at the European Union, I lived in Italy at that time. I had a job, I had life there, and I just did it for fun. I just wanted to see if I can make it. And then I made it, and 15 years later, I'm here in Luxembourg working as a translator for European Commission.
Young people are not always so secure about themselves, so this is maybe something that shows them what they can do with their skills and really show the world, hey, I did it.
Take part in any competition that comes your way, because it really helps you in life. First of all, it's fun. Second of all, it gives you the possibility to check yourself, to just challenge yourself also. And also it gives you practice for future life situations, real life situations.
Thanks so much to our markers for their dedication and their insights, as we saw picking a winning translation from among several very good or excellent other translations is not an easy task.
Sometimes it was the tiniest details that tipped the scales, but there could only be one winner per country.
precisely because we did not wish for all the other excellent translations to go unnoticed, and to recognise the outstanding work you put in, we awarded special mentions, and this year there were 248.
We would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the students who were awarded a special mention, and their teachers, of course. You're all winners. And now we would just like to share a few words with you about where it is we work, me and Micha. We work at a place called DGT. It's the Directorate General for Translation at the Commission. We use a lot of acronyms at the Commission. Think of it as a department or a ministry. You might remember our Director General from the beginning of today's ceremony.
It's called DGT, it's where we, European Commission translators, work. And we are not exactly an everyday bunch. Most of us speak several languages, and some, like Yanis, whom you had a chance to meet earlier, really excel at this. Let's meet a few of our polyglots.
Hey Nana, it's good to see you after a whole year in lockdown. Sania, drago mie.
If I start talking to you about languages, then there's a spark in your eye. That's my thing, I know about that.
Speaking of love, which was the first language that you would say you fell in love with and decided to learn?
As I always happen to have lovely language teachers, I fell in love with my native Danish as the first language. But as a child, during summer, we used to go on road trips in Southern Europe with my parents and twin sister, and we'd go to Italy. And then I realized for the first time, coming from a very small village, that sometimes it takes a language, another language, to make other children know you want to play with them.
It was born with me in as much as I grew up in a bilingual family. So already from my first days, there were two words for everything, what my mother called it and what my father called it.
I spent 5 years in Japan because my family at the time decided to try out our luck working and living in the Far East in Tokyo, near Tokyo exactly. And it was a nice experience, but already a humbling one because I didn't speak any Japanese before I came to Japan.
By the time I started learning other foreign languages at school, there came a point in my school system where you had to make certain choices about the subjects you continued. And at that point, I already knew that I really loved the study of languages. I loved speaking foreign languages, reading them, hearing them, using them. And I made my study choices accordingly.
English, German, Dutch, French, and a bit of Japanese. Konnichiwa, minasan.
I speak 12 languages. I translate from 11 of them into English, as it happens. But yeah, I speak 12 languages.
I've lived in 7 countries, and teaching was always the red thread through my life. So I've taught Danish in Japan, I've taught Japanese in Denmark, I've taught Danish in Germany, and English in the US to children whose foreign language wasn't English.
Did you think that it was going to be easy to learn or even study languages later?
I knew then, and I know today, that learning languages is incredibly difficult.
No.
Yes, incredibly difficult. And it requires lots of energy, stamina, organisation, putting in the hours. I was under no illusion that it would be easy, but I just knew it would be great fun. So that takes away half of the difficulty.
We had just relocated to Chile, South America, coming from Denmark. I was standing in front of my English-speaking friend's house, ringing the doorbell, and the only words that came to mind came in Japanese. So much for languages.
The embarrassment factor is there, the nerves, but...
is there a reward?
Well, there is certainly a reward, and that is really the only way past it.
Languages is the direct gateway to communities, to people, to stories that you might not otherwise have had access to.
My first trip abroad ever was to Austria. Back when I was a student of German. It was my first trip with a group, one-day shopping trip, and at the end of the day we realized that one person was missing. She didn't report back to our bus. So what did the group do? They said, you, Sanya, you can speak German. You should go to the local police and report a case of a missing person.
That's some responsibility.
I used my best German indeed, and I felt very important and responsible. And of course, it was a happy ending. This person just forgot about us and returned home by herself. But maybe it's a hilarious thing now. But thinking of it, maybe it was the start of a long journey when I felt I was going to be a mediator between cultures, between languages. This is what I do today as a translator, as a proud translator.
Languages are also a bridge. It's more than just fun. They're also really a way of communicating with cultures.
It really opens up a treasure box of culture, literature, of another mindset.
Yeah.
So it's as if you add a dimension to your personality, that you can see things from another angle.
I love the act of learning a language. I find it intellectually stimulating. I don't like the effect it has on my social life, but never mind. I find it an interesting, fun, intellectual activity. I love traveling, and I find that language knowledge, any language, makes the traveling experience all the more fun and all the more interesting.
I remember for myself, I was very interested in learning Turkish because I'm half Greek myself, and it was precisely because of the differences that we have, but wanting to have a connection with our neighbours, and we have so much in common that it's really wonderful to be able to reach across.
How do you get the room in your brain to store this many languages?
Well, perhaps there's not much else in my brain to keep them out. I don't know, but I don't think it's a sort of language-on-language thing in the brain. Even when languages aren't necessarily closely related, that's not the issue. I think when it comes to learning a new language, there are two issues: language learning techniques. And I think they're universal for any language that you're learning. And with each new one that you learn, you reinforce them and you get better at them. And the second aspect would also be that I think for many people, there is a psychological barrier when learning a language, i.e., I'll never do it. But once you've done 4, and you go, for example, and you go on to the 5th, that psychological barrier has gone because you've done it already.
Do learn that Latin. Do learn that ancient Greek.
So you feel that ancient Greek and Latin definitely helped you with learning other languages that you...
Indo-European language, yes. Maybe not so much Japanese.
Not Japanese, indeed.
Is there such a thing, in your view, as simple or simpler and difficult or more difficult languages?
Not in absolute terms, no. It's a cliche, but I think it's true. The difficulty of a foreign language depends on the language you're learning it from. I'll give you a good example. Many people will say that Finnish is a fiendishly difficult language. I don't speak Finnish, by the way.
Myself included,
yes.
will say that.
But if your native language happens to be Estonian, well, it's actually rather easy, etc., etc. I could give you 100 examples of this. All languages, and this is another one of my cliches, but I think it's true, all languages are easy if you want to learn them to a certain level. All languages are difficult if you want to master them.
Do you think that despite the fact that we have these translation engines that translate simultaneously for us, there's still a need for languages, for language learners?
I use machine translation every day in my work. I prefer to have it, to have this option. And it's getting better and better, of course. But it's our input, quality input of our translators making it that good. So good input, good output. Of course, it helps us with languages we don't master. and we need translation, but we need quality translation. And quality translation is produced by us humans. So we need to stay ahead of the artificial intelligence. We have to stay sharp. We have to know what we do and how big our responsibility is.
The conditions have always been there for people to learn the language well, without being in the native speaker environment. But today, it's 100 times easier.
Did you watch Eurovision this year?
Certainly.
I was really, really pleased to see that among the top 5 winners, we had 4 countries singing in their own language, finally.
This is what we are. This is we Europeans. Different languages, different mentalities, different characters, but we are united in this diversity.
Music, yes, and language. And we've come to the end of what has been a very inspiring event for us, and we really hope it has been for you too. It's been a really great pleasure getting to know you, meeting you, hearing your ideas. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in. Best of luck with your exams, and a big high five from us.
And the final word from me as well. It's been a privilege to host this event today. Please never forget how exceptional and how talented you are. You people can move mountains. We would love to have you here, live, with us in the studio, but we have to make do with what we have. For a final goodbye, we'll just put all of you up on the big screen, and we'll part with these words.
Stay curious.
And rebellious. Bye.
See you.